create employment, especially in the tourism industry and in the service industry. And that in turn will also help reduce crime. Next big issue is service delivery. We need to have social cohesion so that residents of Kommetjie and residents of Ward 64 don't feel that they're being treated differently. So I'm going to do my best to facilitate communications across different community bodies and forums, because I feel that these community bodies are my tap-in point to understand what's happening locally. I don't have all the answers. So in the past weeks, I have been meeting with different community organizations, and I actually look forward to having somebody holding me accountable. So I embrace the ANC and other parties to keep me in check, and we can keep the dialogue going. So thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to seeing you in the polls.
Thank you very much. A question for Amy? Yes, sir.
My name is Majosi. I'm the Western Cape Traditional Council. Ma'am, on the social cohesion issues, we have a land in Kommetjie at the entrance. I spoke with most of the Councillor Felicity, Councillor Wiley, on numerous occasions on the issues of saying we have the youth in Kommetjie, we have the youth in Ocean View. Our youth, they don't have anything to do. We took the kids to Grahamstown on the festival. It cost us over 60,000. If you look at, I left there with the funders of the youth to say, let's go and see what is happening there. The kids cannot perform in the entrance of Kommetjie. That is a tourist attraction. That is a cash cow for our arts and craft. But the land is being leased or is being sold for the heritage exploitation. And we are going to engage, after we are going to engage with the necessary parties in Kommetjie, the members that were involved into sitting and signing the land away, that would be a public transport interchange. So if we talk about the social cohesion, the transport interchange and the community development in sense of arts and craft, how do you balance when you take a transport system that you can put it anywhere? In the sense of a transport interchange. We have a taxi lane in Kommetjie, we have the arts and craft that we spent over 3 million or so. The only time that arts and craft was properly run, it was the time it was run by the white NGO. From that, there was no funding, there was nothing like that. And we used to work with that NGO at the first beginning of Two Oceans Arts and Craft. At the same time, we're sitting here deployed in the Western Cape to make sure that our purpose to serve is being realized. But what we see here, it's worse than anything else in the country. So we like to say, councillors, on those issues, we write a letter, we put out a complaint. But we are engaging on those issues, of which is the hot potato. And we're not going to rest there until that area it goes back to the arts and craft.
And your question is?
How can you access the land?
Access to the land is the question.
To that particular portion of land.
Okay.
I'm going to hand over to Nikelo because I'm not the adequate person to address that because it's not within my ward. Not having said that, it's not good. We work as a team, and it's not that I'm deflecting from the responsibility, but it makes sense for us to deal with the issues with the relevant people. So I'm just going to, if everybody's okay with that, if I hand to Nikelo to respond. Oh, okay.
If I may just answer the gentleman.
That question is for Ward 69. One candidate for Ward 69 is going to address.
I've got it. Can I please just...
One councillor mentions when it's her turn to speak, can relate to what
Okay, so let me just get some clarity. The question that you posed is a very important one, and I know it's been a thorny issue for some time, and it deserves a very good answer. Unfortunately, Ms. Cole is not the person to answer it because she works in a different ward. But we can make a choice at the time when it's the ward councillor purchase who is responsible for that area, she can answer it. Or if there's another question that you want to answer, we can change this and we can leave that question for the last, but we will have it answered. Okay. Start, Mr. Leopold.
Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Simon Lalcock and I am the current councillor and a candidate for Ward 61. And my family has been in the valley for 56 years, since 1960. Now, South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and the Constitution provides local government with its mandate. Its primary mandate is water and sanitation, lights, roads, and solid waste. And there is more than enough for us to do without getting involved in the corrupt fishing quotas or the dismal SAPS performance or the capture of the state by the gang of thugs. In local government, service delivery, in the Western Cape and in the city of Cape Town, our record of clean government is quite clear. We do the best by far in this country. We govern quite clear, we have no corruption, and your choice is clear. You can either go for corrupt cronyism and chaos, or you can go for economic development. It's your choice. Thank you.
Any questions? James. Thank you.
Senor Simon, we know one another. I'm representing one of many organizations in Ocean View. I'm from Ocean View.
Yep.
You've served a term in Ward 61. Are you going to be more active in Ward 61 as to what you were in this term? Because, you know, there's so much to be done, and yet you're not interactive really as much as we would like you to be with the organizations to assist you in the ward to attend to our ills. What are you going to do different?
Okay, James, the Ocean View Civic Association seemed to fall apart. We attended those meetings, and both Councillor Franke and I are in Ocean View every day. Now, you must understand the job of a councillor is to represent the community, represent them on council, sub-council, and portfolio, which takes us out of the community quite often, for most of the time. We spend a lot of our time on portfolios and council in the city and in the sub-council. So our work is not so much, we are not social development workers. We are councillors, and our job is a lot in the city, dealing with land use, dealing with law enforcement, talking to the directors, dealing with portfolios. My focus on the past 5 years has been land use, and that is changing to the next 5 years. It will be more substance abuse and safety and security. So we will, but I mean, Councillor Frank and I are in the community every day. We are there. You may not see us, but we are there. And I have been working very hard in the community to get that property so that we can start more social work, more youth centers. It took me 5 years to get it out of the gangs of the cadres who were deployed there years. But we have that property, and we will be working on that project in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Purchase.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so I'm Councillor Felicity Purchase. I am born and bred in the Valley quite a while ago, and I have spent the last 21 years on council. I think that the development, the issues for my ward particularly, but in actual fact for the far south as a whole, are really a balance between environmental issues and sustainability for the tourist industry or the tourist economy that we have, and also the needs of the community in terms of housing and a better quality of life. But there are other issues too, which haven't been discussed here in your questions, and I was actually quite taken aback that they weren't raised. And those are the issues around social development and safety and security, because those two are the real issues that affect the everyday life of everybody in the ward. It doesn't matter from which area they come. The real focus for this phase will be the Kommetjie development framework. We are busy with houses now. We have got a development coming up, and the civils will start next month. There's a lot of development going on in Kommetjie, but the development framework is the next big item. And then just around ward allocations, the majority of the ward allocation, in fact, for Ward 69, has been spent in Kommetjie on skills development, on job creation, sports development for the kids, the library, and various other things. But what we've also done is we've spent money on on items which actually serve the entire area collectively, and that is we have built the traffic department, we've built a driver's testing station, a driver's license station, and we've done a lot of alien vegetation clearing and job creation. So those are issues which are across the whole area. Thank you. Okay, would you like me to answer your question? Or is there another question? I'll answer the question around the Two Oceans Craft Centre. The Two Oceans Craft Centre was built and run by the False Bay College. Government, in its wisdom, took the mandate away from the False Bay College to do basic skills development, and we gave the centre over to the community to run. Needless to say, it ran into the ground and it has not been sustainable. It has been a blot on the landscape for us for a very long time. You talk about it not be necessary to have a taxi rank there. The fact of the matter is we have a vast community there of around 30,000 people, and they are forced to use a facility now which does not have toilets for them, it does not have any undercover protection, and it does not have a safe environment for them at all as a taxi facility. And the need by the community, first of all, there was a taxi rank in the original plan for Massey, and the community preferred to have it taken to the entrance on Kommetjie Road rather than have it in the middle at Khoza Square. And that work and that public participation did take place over the last few years. In fact, it's probably almost as much as 10 years. And the taxi rank is now going to be on that site where the Two Oceans Craft Centre is. The culture, arts and culture, is actually a national government function. And as I've said to you before, that is where you need to knock on the door if you want money, because we don't have the money to fund projects to go to, well, Grahamstown or any other projects for that matter, in the terms of arts and culture. So I wish we could. Other countries around the world spend a very large proportion of their budget decisively on arts and culture. We, unfortunately, don't even scratch the surface. Thank you.
I'm sorry, so one question at a time. Okay, there will be time again for questions.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. To be brief, there's two types of people living in Ward 61. There are those that are gatvol, as they say, people who are inconvenienced by traffic and overdevelopment. There's about 4,000 of them, and many of them are sitting here tonight. They have sent a very lengthy petition to the mayor, who has officially ignored them. The other people living in Ward 61 are not gatvol. They are desperate. These are people that live on a typical day with murder and rape and high crime, very poorly built houses, with bad service delivery, with poor schooling, with clinic problems. That's where I work in Ocean View and Red Hill. And these people were let down by the National Party, they were let down by the ANC when they ran here, they are being let down by the Democratic Alliance as well. And the truth is that Ward 61 in particular has been largely forgotten by the city of Cape Town and province. And I know this because I interact a tremendous lot with the guys in city and with the MECs, and they pay no attention to us down here. So one of the things is the past we've been forgotten, but if you look at the future, if you look at the mayor's budget coming up for the next few years, I forget how long it is, the only real capital expenditure is a fire station, and of course the housing in Massey. That's it. No attempt to fix the schools or the clinics or build better houses, better roads, better this, better that, nothing. And what I'm saying really, my time's going to run out, is that what we need, I'm suggesting, is that the council needs, what Ward 61 is a voice that will speak up on behalf of the voters and not be drowned out by the party caucus.
Any questions?
No,
Yeah, Jon.
no,
Yeah, I would like to ask you a question.
sure.
Yeah, first of all, let me say I do appreciate what you have offered. But given the fact that you are anti-party caucus, I am not so with your familiarity about governance issues. How are you going to run issues alone? I mean, come on.
All right. I want to answer that by saying this. When the residents of the far south over the last 5 years have raised countless issues. I'm thinking of Kommetjie guys, where I come from, Ocean View people. Were the ward councillors and yourself allowed to stand up against the caucus and say, excuse me, my voters have said that is wrong, we do not want that? Or does your mayor fine you and dock your pay and say, excuse me, you step in line and you pay it? So have the ward councillors then been standing up time after time after time, but then where is the proof that something has been done? Because in the last 5 years I've seen things dip. And you must understand also, I have no beef with the ward councillors. My issue has been with the way that the city has forgotten far south. One thing that I saw in the budget speech the other day was most of the taxpayers' money here is currently going to the Voortrekker corridor. Very little of that budget for the next 5 years is coming back into our far south over here, and that's a tragedy. And the councillors should have stood up there and said, excuse me, we're not happy with just one fire station and a small part of Massey. We need more clinics, we need more this, we need more this, we need more this, we need more this. It's not translating.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't give you a chance to speak. Okay. Next candidate, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to represent the Freedom Front here tonight, and I want to deal with a number of issues. I want to deal with the structural issues which are inhibiting good governance, and secondly, I want to talk about where decisions should be taken where it is not taken at the moment. First of all, my party bases its whole approach on the United Nations resolution on the protection of minorities. And when I go to Geneva, I see people there at the Minority Forum from all over the world coming to complain about discrimination against them on either ethnic basis or language or culture or their historic background. So I'm not part of the game to say that we must have the democracy that we have at the moment. The gentleman said democracy can sometimes not be democracy. What we've got in South Africa today is we've got 7 wolves and 1 sheep sitting around the table deciding on what they're going to have for supper. And my party represents those people that is the sheep. The second thing I want to talk about is the structural issues. We plead for the autonomy of the Western Cape, and I'll give you one example why we are serious about that. Everybody talks about crime. The only reason why crime in the Western Cape is not dealt with properly is because there's nobody really in charge of doing it. South African Police Service is under the charge of Pretoria. Mr. Dan Plato here only has an overseeing role. The city's got its Metro Police, which is underfunded and understaffed. We need a central control delegated to the province of the Western Cape in order to deal with crime. Otherwise, we will not resolve the problem. The second issue that I want to deal with is the issue of sub-councils. We are the only metro that has introduced sub-councils. But under the DA government, they are not prepared to delegate proper powers and functions to the sub-councils. That is where the decisions must be taken for the local people. And I believe, are you the chairman or what? The sub-council should be there to decide on the taxes that you pay, where the taxes should be spent and how it should be used. Thank you very much.
One question, please.
Would you like to ask a question?
One question?
Sure. Just with regards to your focus on minorities in particular, do you not agree that 50 years of separate development needs to be addressed, and that this minority that you're highlighting is actually still remarkably privileged in comparison to the majority?
That is your opinion, but you take affirmative action. You take affirmative action in South Africa at the moment. It is blatantly racist. If you go and apply for a job, You must classify yourself. Are you white? Are you brown? Are you Indian? Or are you black? I think that's discrimination. It's racial. That is the thing that
Thank you. I'm Baptist Steenkamp. I also represent the Freedom Front. I retired as a senior manager in the South African Defence Force. I studied at the University of the Free State of Pretoria, but I've never been in politics. I'm a professional manager, but I decided that I like to offer my services to the community. At this stage, for the last 3 years, I was a chairperson for the CPF Sector 1, that is Simonstown and Glenkern. I value the principles of the Freedom Front and made myself available as candidate. In 2014, the Freedom Front initiated a platform that they called My Municipality, and support the public with the issue that affected them within the municipal boundaries. And we are still there. We can ask any questions that will be investigated, and we will offer a support for that. From my point of view, I think visible law enforcement is very important. The biggest challenge in this area, I would say, is road congestion. Although the long-term development plan is in place, we will find a short-term solution. I think the roads via Kalk Bay and Kaapseberg are not finalized. The tolling of Chapman's Road must be suspended. The My City service must be expanded to include the far south, and until the metro rail is properly in place, reliable bus service between Simonstown and Vishoek must be introduced. Consultation for new estates, as published now in the public People's Post, must take place before any other, if the community development can take place. I think it's very important for everyone to be part of that. Law enforcement from our side must be more visible. I would like to see a Metro Police office with dedicated officers stayed in this area. Just one. There's one. Thank you. The last one is that I would say that we must talk to each other. There must be an advisory body consisting of ratepayers, civic organizations, commercial industry to discuss problems and pass it on to the people that's going to work with that. Thank you.
It's already halfway into his question time, so please be quick. Yes, sir. Okay. No, ma'am, sorry.
You say your biggest concern is traffic. Where would you rate your concern about the poor and underprivileged? Yes.
If I have more time, I would definitely address that. I think personally we have to, this organization that I say the consultative body should address that, and we talk to everyone, not in the part of I will talk and think what you think about it, but we must talk to everyone to find a common solution for everything. That we have to talk to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kommetjie. Sorry. Okay, the Cape Party was founded in 2007 out of complete and utter disillusionment with the direction that the country was going in. Not just only under ANC rule, but the DA's inability to prevent it. Now, I take a bit of exception from the comment that was made by this gentleman over here, I think ANC? DA. He said that Johan was not suitable to play his role as looking after the community because he did not have a big political party system behind him that could enforce it. This is the core of the problem. Now, let me tell you what the Cape Party stands for. We're calling for greater autonomy for the Western Cape region, both politically, economically, and socially. If the central government controlled by the ANC will not negotiate with us on that basis, if the Cape Party wins a majority here in the Western Cape, we will hold a referendum. If we get a majority in that referendum, we will declare the Western Cape an independent country. In our country, the Cape Republic, We will implement a system of direct democracy where these problems will no longer be an issue. Johan will be able to deal with those issues because there is no higher authority. You, the people, it's your taxes, it's your community. You should make decisions for yourself. You shouldn't have some politician sitting up in Pretoria telling us how to live our lives. Thank you.
Okay, one question. I don't want Mr. Lekela to be the only one asking the questions yet tonight. Please, they're going to think I'm favouring someone. Would you mind if I gave James?
I just want to bring out to the Cape Party gentlemen. With this referendum that you are talking about, undermine the constitution of our country, how are you going to make it possible?
Okay, I'll tell you how we'll make it possible. First of all, it is in the Constitution of South Africa. Section 235 states, any territorial entity that shares a common cultural and language heritage has a right to self-determination. That's the South African Constitution. South Africa is also a signatory to the African Union as well as the United Nations. The amount of legal charters supporting self-determination runs for pages. Our ex-president Thabo Mbeki came out in support of the Sudanese self-determination. The legal criteria that supports this is it's endless. So that's not the legal concern is not our concern. I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit further about how this would affect local communities. The way that taxes are allocated here in South Africa, 65%. We have a 1.3 trillion budget. 65% of that is allocated to the national sphere of government. 30% of that goes to the provincial. 5% goes to our local communities. In an independent Cape Republic, we would flip that triangle on its head. 65% at the very least should go down to local communities, 30% to the provincial level, and a very small amount should sit in the hands of those at the top. If we shorten the distance between taxpayer and government, there's more accountability. We know how our taxes are spent because you know, John, he lives 2 rows down from you. There's transparency in the bank account. You know that the money went to fix the roads, didn't build an Nkandla.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate, please.
I'm Jill Stahl, and I'm standing in Ward 61 and 69. I can't talk on the high levels of others because I've never been a councillor before, but I just felt that our country needs to have people standing for everybody.
No, sorry ma'am, I just want to correct something here. People must not be personally pointing fingers to another party's president's houses. That gentleman, you were just putting something. No, I don't want to. No, I'm trying to do something here.
I note your point, sir, but please can we handle that separately? Thank you.
Please.
So, having worked around the community and seen what happens in certain places, these are the things that I would actually like to see, and they're very basic and very much on the ground. For schools, I'd like to see discipline restored, good manners, respect for parents and others, and self and teachers. I would like to see respect for property, other people's property. I'd like to see no cell phones in the classroom. Teacher training colleges reinstated to produce well-qualified teachers for all schools. Aftercare at schools for children of working parents. Creche facilities at workplace for working mothers with a sick room provided. Because what does a mother do with a child who's ill when she's expected to be at work at the same time? And I'd like to see the same standard of schooling in all schools. With youth amenities, community centres for the children, especially in the winter months. Play parks with a paid attendant to watch over the children. Facility to be locked up at night with CCTV cameras. Sports training for fitness and competitions as a challenge and mentoring of the youth. For road sellers, that's our folk who sell down the road here, an allocated area for a container. This enables goods to be locked away after business, have a place out of the summer heat and be dry in the winter months. For small businesses, the container could be divided into smaller areas.
Sorry, I'm going to have to drive you there. That's tough. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question for you on 169. We have a community problem in our community hall. So can I ask you, how can you solve that problem? Because when a community leader hall, you see now it's raining outside. Now when there is a meeting in the community hall, the people who are in charge in that community hall, they are told us they can't give us a hall, you have to book the hall. But when there is a party in that hall, people can get that hall. How are you going to solve that problem?
Do I understand that correctly, that people can have a party there, but they can't have a meeting there? Is that what you're saying? Well, I think, first of all, that to be fair to everyone, I think that it should be equal, that people can use it for certain facilities. But I do know one thing, that sometimes parties cause a wreckage in the place, and that's not the story either. So I think it needs to be given to different needs at different times. In other words, try to have a fair distribution of the same hall, because obviously you've got to share one thing. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Amandla. Awethu. Good evening, everyone. My name is Zuko. My surname is Kwapi. I stay in Maspumelele, I think for 10 years now. I'm the ward candidate of Ward 69. I'm not going to be long. I don't even think I'll finish this 2 minutes. It's too long for me. Because I'm the only party that who's never been proven, who's never been given a chance to prove itself. So we are not the party that go around and dish promises to people. We only dish commitments. So this is our commitment. We're going to be sure about this commitment, that in these 5 years in the office, we deliver this promise, this commitment to the people. Our commitment is to install the dignity of the South Africans, especially the poor, because they are the forgotten one, and they are also their majority. So, as the EFF, we stand here in front of you to ask you to vote for the EFF, because the EFF is the only it's the last hope of the South Africans in this country. We don't want to give you promises, because we don't want to waste 20 years or 104 years as the ANC say and the DA that they've been in the office for 20 years. We don't want to waste many years giving people promises every 5 years and not deliver. We are the people who came here to ask you to vote for us only for these 5 years, and then we can deliver so that we can move on with our lives and go to school and go to work and whatsoever. Not this thing of staying in the street and shooting each other because of we are hungry, we are robbing each other on the street. We are telling you now, just vote EFF. EFF is the last hope that you can get in this country. Viva!
If I may ask Mr. Kwame, how are you going to install the dignity of the, as you were talking? And secondly, the crime that you're talking about, it's like from unemployment and all that. How are you going to restore that, and how are you going to clarify or ensure that everyone is employed and all that?
Thank you. Let me start with the first question about the installment of the dignity of the people. First thing, when you install a dignity of the people, first thing what you must do, you must make sure that every South African has got a place to sleep, has got water, they've got electricity, they've got clean toilet, inside the house. Not this thing of people giving other people toilet outside. That thing is not working. You must give people toilet inside the house with 2-bedroom, because everyone has got kids, especially the old people. They've got kids that are maybe in my age. How can you sleep in one room with a kid like me, like my age? So that means you're taking away the dignity of the people. If you do that to the people, when you bring back the dignity, you provide houses to the people. You give people water so that they can breathe. You give people water so that they can wash and go to work. You create jobs, because you don't say you're gonna give people jobs. Jobs must be created. You create jobs. This is the way you create jobs. You see, in Ward 69, I never see anyone here in Maspumelele or Ocean View say, I'm working under this municipality of Ward 69. So everyone is here, is coming from Kailicha. There's a people who are sweeping road in Masi. That contract is from Kailicha. They are not belonging in our ward. So which means, even the time we were building those, what you call this thing, those mesh box, those RTP houses there, those people were building that thing, they were from Philippi and Nyanga and Kailicha. I don't know why, because we've got our people who can build in Masi. So I don't know why. So that's how you create job for the people. You employ in the same ward where you are elected on. So that means as a EFF, we're going to employ people of Ward 69 for the job of the office of Ward 69. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, I just want to get a point of order. Point of order, please.
As much as I'd love to hear my provincial colleague, Bernard Joseph, as far as I know, he has a job and he's not applying for another one next week.
Okay. So unfortunately, sir, I'm not allowed to give you a speaking term. I need to give your candidates a speaking term, please.
Okay, that I respond. It's a pity that you have responded in that way, and I know that he's taking it in, or raising it in good gesture. 2 minutes can be long in a person's life, it can be short. I have decided to take the option of trying to create synergy towards the 3rd of August and beyond to August to 2019. However, I will touch on 3 issues that is important. Ma'am, no. I was invited by this structure to be here. I was invited. Why are you afraid?
Please. Okay. Okay. If the gentleman was invited, then I apologize. Then we have to allow him to speak. But we must understand that this is about the ward candidates. So this is not a general political talk. And if you take this time, you take it from another one of your colleagues.
No,
we can't be unfair. We can't be unfair and dictated by one party.
We're not
by which
dictated.
Okay.
The emails went out to candidates and to political parties. And that's when the response was from the political party that these 2 candidates with the provincial chairperson will be part and parcel of this engagement.
So if I may just clarify that we had to go through, as I said at the beginning, we had to go through the political parties to reach the candidates.
Okay, all right. Excuse me. It seems as if there was a legitimate misunderstanding. It was not the intention. However, if I do this, I grant you the 2 minutes, but then I do need to be fair to every other party to do the same.
Yes. I
would like 2 minutes too.
I would also like to have a chat 2 minutes.
Okay. In terms of, I want to raise 3 issues in terms of the development in priorities in the far south. 1, we need to improve the public transport to reduce traffic congestion during peak hours, especially in the morning and in the evenings. 2, creating an enabling environment for an inclusive blue economy thereby creating sustainable jobs and not expanded public work program jobs. 3, reducing the size of Navy government property to meet in the demands of housing. You are rude.
No.
Then in terms of crime, we need to address the root causes of crime. We can't just mention this is the challenges pertaining to crime without knowing what is the root causes. And the only way that we can do it is through engagement of people within this area. 3, someone has said that we do not want...
Madam Chair, can I call an order? I'm sorry. Colleagues, what is happening here? We are here invited as one candidate from different wards. Now, what is currently happening here? It's a clear political opportunist. Mr. Bernard Joseph is a provincial leader. Not unless you want to tell us he hasn't got confidence to his comrades. He has got no authority to speak here. He's sitting in the province. And he's addressing all the media statements.
And a point of order.
We want his local government candidate to speak, not him as a provincial leader.
SEFF, we've noted the concerns, but there's nothing to fear. He's just, what he's doing, he's just transferring message. Why are you so scared of the message? You are what councillor?
Okay, point of order, please. Enough. That's enough. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is not a political game. I'm going to ask you to sit down, sir, and I'm going to ask for us to proceed with the proceedings. If there's a party not happy with this process, then they're welcome to leave. But I ask you to please sit down, sir. We've noted the points of order. We're going to continue with your candidates, or we stop the process here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please could you do it? No, sir. Could you please do it through your candidate?
From I would like to respond. You mustn't have attitude, my dear. So don't be rude.
Revolutionary greetings to everyone in the house. I want to be dividing you guys because we don't have time. I would like to say happy birthday to EFF. Today is turning 3 years. The fastest growing organization in South Africa. My name is Isaac Goliath. I'm a candidate for the first time in Ward 64, and I'm very, very grateful to be a candidate for the first time in EFF. As a ward candidate of Ward 64, for the people of Ward 64 for voting me, they will be employing a worker. Someone will be working for them. I'm talking about 24/7. I think you will shut up. I'm speaking to the people of Ward 64, not to everyone. We will expose all the corruption when we get in the council. And whomever knows that is on the wrong side of the law, you better prepare yourself to be on the right side of the law. And after the 3rd of August, it won't be business as usual because the councillors are sleeping, they're only eating money, they are not working. It doesn't matter which political party you're in, we'll make sure that you're doing your job. And if you don't do your job, we'll show the community how to chase a councillor. If it doesn't work, we will do things by law. We will address the crime by adding more police visibility and remove all the corrupt officials in the police. On Saturday, the cops from Muizenberg, they took a copper from Telkom. They gave to the boys to sell that copper so that they can get money. What the boys did, they shared the money amongst themselves and then they assaulted those boys. Most people in Ward 64, they rent houses. Others, their houses belongs to the banks and the cars belongs to the banks. Street people and the prostitute in the Ward 64 has to be addressed. Fishing to the colored community is a culture. To take fishing away from the colored community is like taking their culture. Thank you.
One question, please.
And Campbell Road will make sure that we expose that.
One question, please. You choose your candidate, please. You choose the person. If you've got a question here.
I won't choose anyone because I can answer anyone.
I'm a resident of Ward 64 and I have a question. And I did put up my hand.
Yes, a resident of Ward 64.
So as a resident of Ward 64, I mean, I've stayed there for 24 years. And you haven't given me a clear mandate where you can convince me of what it is you actually want to achieve. Yes, you pointed out some of the problems that exist in the ward, but you haven't pointed out any concrete solutions to deal with those particular problems. And with regards to the police, as you do know that the police is controlled and authorized at a national